so, hey, people will say, well, Dr. J, you got a lot of tales, but are these things true? I say, well, yes, they're true. I know how are you going to falsify. I have a picture of Pele and me. What? You mean the great soccer player Pele? Yes. And when did you meet him? Well, I met him in the Ivory Coast. In other words, I was there studying for my PhD, and they had a football match. Everybody in the city stopped. Everybody was going to the stadium. The whole army was there. Uh, and Pele, when he was warming up, all he had to do was shake a leg, and the crowds went crazy because he had these famous, powerful thighs. So I met Pele first in Ivory Coast. Then later, I met him in uh, in Brazil. I actually went to the celebration of Zumbi that they have in every November. Uh, he actually went there for the first time with Benedita de Souza, the leading black woman, and myself. Uh, and then, as history would have it, America had a growing soccer interest. And in the New York area, between New York and Newark, they built a soccer stadium because Newark had a very heavy Portuguese population.
Mm.
And who was the person who was exciting everybody about soccer in New Jersey was Pele. So I actually met him in my hometown, Newark. I met him in my research home, Ivory Coast, and I met him in my adopted home in Brazil.
Wow,
Now, who the
wow.
hell do you know would have that type of relationship with the struggle? There's only one, and I'm sorry, I have to claim it and name it. Not
Oh
even
yeah.
Dr. Ben or Dr. Clark or any of them has that type of experience simply because I spoke French and my second language was Portuguese.
Mm.
And so uh, our Brazilian thing is really fantastic.
Oh
So
yeah.
you got a little bit of the Jeffries uh, history in there, and uh, I'm looking at a picture of Malcolm, and it's a book called "The Dead Are Arising," and that's Les Payne. He's a friend. He was the writer, editor of one of the big magazines, and he wrote a book. His daughter finished it about Malcolm, and then Malcolm's family and I are very close. His nephew Rodnell calls here every week. Dr. J, do you know what this and that? Right? Dr. J, and so his mother, Sister Ella, she's the one that tried to save Malcolm by uh, eventually somebody called the cops on Malcolm's involvement with women, white women, and also petty drugs. So the word is that Malcolm's older sister, in order to save him, called the cops on him. So whether that's true or not, we don't know. But Malcolm and Betty, um, Brother Smalls, and I were very close to Betty. And I'm looking at Little Malcolm. That's a book that Ilyasha, the third daughter, wrote. And she and I have been very close, along with Professor Small, and Ilyasha also has a little dedication of me in it. Ilyasha's uh, older sister. We have a beautiful photo in the living room that has Malcolm with two young babies on his lap, and that's Attila, the oldest, and Gambella, the second. And then a grinning, uh, funny man is sitting next to Malcolm, and his name is Muhammad Ali, and he has Ilyasha on his lap. And that photograph has been uh, well, in other words, that's a larger photo that includes Betty and the other two, but they somehow did they cut her out of the picture. Um, but the two babies that were in Betty's womb when Malcolm was murdered, one of them just died, and we were at the funeral for her last week, and the other uh, of the twins, uh, Malat, she Betty, her mother had gotten her to go on a program introducing young people to Africa. And that program was Operation Crossroads Africa, the same program that both my wife and I went on. And then, so Malat and I traveled to Martinique together. She was supposed to be speaking on Malcolm, and I was supposed to be speaking on Pan Africanism. And so, and Brother Small had a chance to go with her mother, Betty, to the Caribbean island that that the family has deep roots in. And then we also had to take her uh, with us when we had the seventh Pan African Conference. And then she went representing the struggle that her husband epitomized, and she did a good job. They named a park after Malcolm X way in the mountains of Uganda, the capital city, Kampala.